You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me is Joe Zamacharo and Matt Gannon. Guys, welcome back to the show. We got a fun one for you today. We'll be recapping the trade deadline, looking ahead at the Bolts schedule, how they played this week, and everything going else around in the NHL. Guys, welcome back. Super excited to have you here once again to talk some Lightning hockey.
After about a 2-3 week hiatus, good to be back on the show. Had some stuff going on. Sorry to have missed last week, but wow, a lot has changed since the last podcast I was on, guys.
You made it back just in time for a very exciting show. I'm glad you could be here for this one, Joe.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. And if you want to go catch up on the ones that you did miss, you can do that as well. But guys, let's jump right into it. And let's start off quickly with an injury, just kind of update. There's not really an update, unfortunately, but Erik Cernak was injured in one of the games, which we'll get to later. No update on him currently. When asked about it after the game, Cooper really didn't say anything. He said he didn't want to think negatively about it. And he said, we'll see how he is tomorrow. Tomorrow has come and we still don't have any kind of new news about Erik Cernak. Luckily, though, the Lightning do have 4 days off. So hopefully that will help out Cernak and he'll be able to come back sooner rather than later. But injury didn't look ideal because he wasn't putting any weight on his foot when he did leave the game. So you guys haven't heard anything about Erik Cernak, correct?
I haven't heard anything about it. It was a nothing burger play that just I don't know what happened, but man,
Light
he
contact.
couldn't put any weight on it at all. Like I was, I'm worried. I don't know what it could be. I'm not good with what injuries turn into. Joe, I feel like you're kind of better at that. Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I'm speculating it's an ingrown toenail.
Okay. With Cernak, I don't doubt it.
Listen, I've had one of those before, and they're not fun, all right? They suck. So don't
I mean, if not that, then maybe it's a little bit of like a blood blister that's, just right on that big toe. It just really irritates. I don't know. Cernak's been injured so much recently. I'm getting a little bit, obviously I'm being cheeky, but getting a little bit impatient too, because it seems like any sort of time he gets dinged up in the slightest, he ends up missing games or, missing the rest of the period. He's gone through a lot throughout his career and really has been hit quite a few times really hard by pucks, by boards, by the ice, by other players. It is very difficult playing defense in the NHL, but it seems like he's one of you guys commented a little bit before the show, should be wrapped in bubble wrap before he goes out there.
Kind of feels like he's going to need to be because I can't remember the last time he played a full 82 game.
I think we did this before. I don't think
actually?
he ever has. He got close, but yeah, most of the time it's a solid 65 to 70 games or something.
And he's a great player when he's out there on the ice and fully healthy, but he is constantly getting injured. Hopefully this one's nothing major, but it is an unfortunate thing with Cernak that he's always getting hurt. And yeah, maybe a bubble wrap new uniform for him might be beneficial going forward. Let's get to the trade deadline though, because that's the big thing that we got to talk about this week. Of course, there were a lot of rumors swirling around with the Lightning. They were heavily connected to one Noah Hanifin, which was kind of the big prize everybody was hoping for. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But I want to start there with the Noah Hanifin situation because it's interesting. So he ends up going to the Vegas Golden Knights. And the return is kind of what I think a lot of people expected. It was a first-round pick in 2025, a prospect, and I believe a third, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. But so not a crazy amount, something that the Lightning maybe could have done. Now, of course, they didn't have a first-round pick until 2026. But the big crazy thing to me about the Hannafin situation was it was reported before that deal happened to the Knights that the Lightning supposedly had a contract extension already done with Hannafin, and they were trying to now just finish the deal. We don't know if that's 100% true, but that was the rumor going around. Let me ask you guys this question. Are you disappointed? And then do you think it's a big deal that the Lightning did not get Noah Hannafin? They ended up making another move for a defenseman later, which we'll get to in just a moment. But it sounds like the Lightning were very close to getting Noah Hannafin, but Calgary liked the deal better with Vegas and wanted to go that way instead of sending him to Tampa.
I don't know. I'm disappointed, but at the same time, whatever. Let's carry on. Like it didn't happen, so I'm not going to dwell on it. It could have been really cool, but at the same time, like looking back at the last 10 Stanley Cup winners, the winners were never the guys that get the big fish, trade bait guy. They're always the guys that they're always the teams that get the depth guys, the third liners, and the bottom pair D-man. They're not the big flashy moves or anything. So yeah. Does it suck? Yeah, it does. But I think the way JBB made the other deals, he addressed the issues that we needed to address. Yeah, Hannafin would have been nice, but as we can see, it's already kind of starting to work out. Duclair with a goal and an assist. I'm a little bummed about it, but oh well, let's move on. Hopefully the moves that we did make were the right moves. And there's still the offseason. He knows, we've heard he wants to play in Tampa. I don't think Vegas has talked extension with him just quite yet, but, we'll see what the offseason brings. But for now, focus on the prize at hand.
Yeah, and looking at a quote here that I have that Hannafin put out just recently, he said, "I felt I should give Calgary a list of teams I would sign with, and then it got out there that I was holding the team hostage and would only sign with one team." So there was a lot of speculation that he was really just, only being willing to sign with Tampa. And also further speculation that because of that, the Flames did not want to give him explicitly what he wanted so that other players wouldn't feel that they could dictate negotiations. His whole thing that he says is his desire to, he's a Boston native, so his desire is to be back on the East Coast so they could start a family and be closer to support structure out East. I don't know that they've put together a package fully in Vegas for him to sign there. So there is always the possibility that he can sign here in the offseason. He'd be a welcome member of the Lightning, but the Lightning just weren't willing to give up all the assets that Vegas was, which, maybe we should touch a little bit later on in the show with what Vegas did do during the trade deadline. And, not getting him, it does kind of hurt, but then it also opened JBB up to additional moves that, again, might pay off in the future here.
Yeah, for me, obviously getting Hannafin would have made, because I thought the Lightning, I don't want to spoil my grade that I'm going to give the Lightning when we recap all of the trades here, but obviously Hannafin would have been an even better trade deadline for me because he is a bigger piece, a guy I think that can really help the team. But, these things happen. You're not going to be able to get everybody that you want to get. Things don't work out the way perfectly all the time. And you guys mentioned it. Off season, it does sound like Hannafin, Joe, you said it, he wants to go on the East Coast. It sounds like there's a possibility the Lightning have already talked extensions with him. And if that's the case, he could definitely come to the Lightning in free agency, which would be awesome for the Bolts if they can make that work out in the near future. So we'll have to wait and see. It's a bummer they didn't get him, but I do like some of the moves that the Lightning made that they did get happen. And let's talk about those. Let's start with the forward, which is the first trade the Lightning made. They actually made this trade in the middle of the game against Calgary, but the Lightning acquired Anthony Duclair from the San Jose Sharks, and they also got a 7th-round pick in 2025. In exchange, the Lightning sent defenseman Jack Thompson and a 3rd-round pick in 2024. So in the grand scheme of things, one prospect, Jack Thompson's, he's been pretty decent so far. I believe he just made the All-Star game in the AHL as well. But not a whole ton to give up for Anthony Duclair, who's someone that has been around the league in a lot of different places. The Lightning just dealt with him recently when he was down in Florida. And Matt, as you kind of alluded to before, already a goal and assist with the Lightning. So he has already made a quick impact. I really like this move. I think it helps out that bottom 6 depth scoring, although he did play in the top 6 position in his last game. But guys, I thought it was a great move by the Lightning.
He is somebody that the Bolts looked at before and just weren't quite able to sign. I like the move quite a bit. It's not giving up too much, and that's one of the things that I was saying going into the trade deadlines. I don't think that we should leverage our future based on the team that we have this season in order to make huge moves to try to go for a Stanley Cup and again leverage everything that we have and mortgage our future draft picks because we are going to have to go through a rebuilding process. This is something that, or this particular trade was one that didn't require a lot to give up and gives us stability, gives us a guy that's gritty, has speed, and really is a hard player to play against. I love having him on the team, and it wasn't one that's going to cost us long term or short term. He's going to help the team immensely. I mean, it's I don't know how much I can say about his play in the last year since he's been on the West Coast. Looking at his stats, I mean, it only tells you so much because there's obviously a lot of things that that go into that.
He played for the Sharks,
and those stats don't count.
Right, right. That's kind of what I was alluding to there. It's a trash team, so it can definitely affect you. I love the move personally because I didn't want to see swinging for the fences, and this is one of those surprise trades that it's just I don't see any downside to it.
Yeah, I was also surprised with it. It wasn't a name I had on my radar or anything, but again, obviously it's paying off right now. And I think it was a great value deal too. I think we all still have a bad taste in our mouth from the Tanner Jeannot trade. And don't get me wrong, I think he's a fine player, but we gave up way too much. And it's just objectively true. This deal right here, yeah, it sucks. We got to let Jack Thompson go, but he's not quite NHL ready. We can't really utilize him this year. And, time is running out for this team, for this core. So why not, reward them with a good player who can help them now? Who knows what the future brings, the offseason, if we can bring him back, doesn't matter. What we gave up for him, I think was a great value deal. And, I already know that he's a good player. Of course, he tormented us on Florida, but on a couple of other teams. I didn't like him. I hated Anthony Duclair. I thought he was annoying, always hard to play against. And what more do you want on your team? A guy you can't stand to play against, but you love him on your team. And, we didn't see, the real edgy side of him or anything in that Flyers game. Didn't really have an opportunity for it. But again, that's only a small part of his game. I just love the fact that I don't like this player. And now that he's on our team, what more do you want in, a player that makes you feel that way?
And during that game, there are 3 goals to talk about. The one that he actually scored on, he did so basically almost in the crease. The one that he got the assist on was, again, digging a puck out that was in the crease. And then I lose track because there were so many goals in that game. I think it was Hagel may have scored, and perhaps not. It was a shot that came from like the high slot area, and he was again right at the top of the crease screening. So he's already making his way to his personal office right there in front of the goalie, and has contributed to at least 3 of those goals that were scored on Saturday.
Yeah, you guys mentioned it. Don't give up a ton, and it's still a player that can immensely help the Lightning and make a run deep into the playoffs, maybe the Cup. Who knows how that all works out? But yeah, I really like that trade for the Lightning with Anthony Duclair. You don't give up a lot. He's a player that's made a great impact. But let's talk about the second trade that JBB made, and it was right up close to the deadline. I don't know about you guys. I was getting a little worried because we've talked about it on the show before. Matt, me and you talked about it last week, saying that we'd love to see a defenseman, right? You got to get a defenseman. Sergachev obviously hurting out for the rest of the regular season at the very least, and you want to shore up that side. Didn't seem like we were going to do anything for a little bit while there. There were a couple of floaters of possible names that it could be. And at the last second, the Lightning do make a trade. And it's for one guy that I think many people didn't really expect. And that is Matt Dumba from the Arizona Coyotes. The Lightning get him with a 7th-round pick in 2025 in exchange for a 5th-round pick in 2027. So the Lightning going way out there when it comes to draft picks. But they get Matt Dumba. And, he's not the flashy defenseman Noah Hannafin that a lot of people were hoping for, or Jacob Chikrin or somebody like that. But he's a defenseman that can help out. He's a veteran defenseman that knows how to play long minutes, a ton of different experience to help the young rookies like Crozier and Lilleberg, who did get sent down, by the way, after this trade to make sure the Lightning were cap compliant. But I think at the end of the day, he's a guy that could really help out. And again, recency bias. He had a solid game against Philly, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But what did you guys think about this one, getting Matt Dumba?
I really liked it. Like I was talking about in the Duclair deal, great value there, great value here. I mean, giving up a 2027 fifth round pick, like I don't know, that
you got him for free.
Yeah, it couldn't be a more insignificant pick. Like, unless that player turns into, I don't know, it's not going to turn into anything. You got him for literally a bag of chips. So I really do like this. We utilized the extra cap space that we had. We didn't, they didn't retain on any of his salary. I think that's why it was so cheap. And a lot of other teams, fans are pretty upset that they couldn't get Matt Dumba. So that tells me we got a great value deal here. I like the way he plays. Some Coyotes fans are a little iffy on how he's played this year. But again, just like we were talking about.
Coyotes fans.
Yeah, exactly. Like we were talking about with the Duclair and the Shark stats, they don't count. Same thing with Coyote stats, they don't count. So we'll see how he does on Tampa. All I know is he's a hard hitting. He's got an offensive touch to him, which is kind of slipping away from him, but he plays solid lockdown defense. And boy, does he hit. Like, he looks like a little Lilleberg out there, if you will. He loves to really finish his checks and drive dudes into the board. So I'm really excited with this trade. And again, just, can't stress this enough, especially after last year. Great value.
He's a guy also that the Bolts were linked to for discussions previously, and for good reason. I mean, we've talked about the almost near obsession with trying to find a right-handed defenseman. He's a right-handed defenseman, and in terms of not having as much offensive upside as he has in the past, he's only 29 years old. He isn't. This is kind of perhaps be considered, the peak of somebody's career right now when you're 29 and a defenseman. You're a little bit takes a little bit longer to reach your full potential, and then he's still just on the right side of 30, where he's not going to start completely degrading physically like you start to see in your later 30s. Ask me about it. It's a great acquisition. I mean, again, for like a bag of chips, for like literally nothing, to get a guy that's a right-handed D that the Lightning needed so badly. I can't wait to see what he ends up doing once he learns the system and starts to figure things out, which again, on someone like this, we're going to have to be patient. It might not be the season where you start to fall in love with them. It's going to hopefully be a guy that we sign to multiple years, and then he discovers himself on the team.
Well, and at the end of the day, right, we talked about, listen, the Lightning are in a tough position. You got Stamkos' contract coming up next year. You don't know the exact situation with the cap space. The Lightning are in a tight race for that second wild card spot. They moved up to the first one right now, but it's a close race nonetheless. You don't know how that's all going to work out. So the Lightning, as you mentioned, Joe, didn't mortgage their future in any way with these trades, but they still got two pieces that can absolutely help out right now and help them make that push for the postseason and potentially even deeper into the playoffs, which is what I like so much about this trade deadline from the Lightning. Of course, you would have liked Noah Hannafin or Jacob Chicker, a little bit more flashy player, but at the end of the day, these are two solid guys that I think can help out a lot. And so far, so good. We've only seen them in one game, but it's been promising, which is classic JBB.
And to touch on Dumba just a little bit more for a moment, he's on a 1-year contract that's just shy of $4 million. His previous contract was for 5 years at $6 million a year. So he's a player that's been signed to more. We can assume that his contract's not going to be much more than it currently is if he extends, if it's even that much.
I don't even know if it will match his current deal. Again, the
Right.
way Coyotes fans have talked about him, this was kind of a prove-it-year deal, and I think we're going to wait to see what happens in Tampa, but I think he has not quite lived up to the deal just quite yet. Again, I think he was signed under the pretense that he still has he's still like a power play quarterback. That's what he came into the league as. He was a points guy at first and then really transitioned his game. So I think this was kind of a last, grasp at still being an offensive defenseman kind of guy, and the contract reflects it. And I just don't think that's what his game is going to be moving forward. And I don't think that's what his next contract is going to be moving forward, which is fine by me. Because again, the other side of his game is I think it's a really good side of his game, that physical, defensive defenseman style. Sorry to really take that run.
No, you're completely right. I mean, because we have had Hedman on PP1 forever. Sergachev proved himself on PP1 when Hedman was down. So you've got a guy that's solid for the second power play line. I mean, we'll talk about him probably more later, but Raddysh has always been an offensive defenseman. So we have those pieces in place already. What we need is a guy that can play solid two-way defense when it's 5-on-5. And looking at his stats, he hasn't had a season in the last, I think it was like 8 seasons or 7 or 8 seasons where he didn't average over 20 minutes a game. So he's eating minutes. And that's, a guy that means that you can play in the top first or second pairing. And again, right-handed D can't be stressed enough with how important that is to the Lightnings in their decision-making process.
I have to give a shout out to Raw Charge, who quote tweeted when Dumba signed with the Coyotes. They quote tweeted it and said, "That's a future trade acquisition for the Lightning." And they end up going out and getting him, which was pretty funny. So I had to mention that quickly as well. Also, with the acquisition of the 7th round pick in this draft, the Lightning now have 6 7-round picks over the next 2 years. They got 3 this year and 3 next year. So I don't know what the Lightning see in the 7th round, but clearly there is something that they are excited about. I don't know. It's just interesting though that they really hit those 7th round picks. Maybe they're looking for another Andre Palat. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, there better be a Henrik Zetterberg or a Joe Pavelski sitting in there somewhere with what'd you say, 6 7-round picks? Or?
6, 3 this year, 3 next year.
That's crazy.
Load them up, put them in the A, let ABB teach them how to play some hockey, and then when they're, I mean, he's like the best, right? Teach them how to play some Lightning hockey and bring them on up.
All right, overall thoughts on the trade deadline. Matt, I'll start with you. If you want to give us a grade overall, what you thought for the Lightning this trade deadline.
I'll go B+. I'm actually very happy about what we did. Again, it's not the flashy moves or the big moves that everybody was expecting, but I think it was the right moves and the solid moves. And also, it can't go unnoticed getting the 2025 4th round pick from Edmonton. I don't think we talked about it in this show, and it wasn't really a major deal, but all we did was give up an unassigned goaltender, a 7th round pick or something, or a 6th round pick in exchange for 25% of Adam Henrique's salary, and we get a 4th round pick out of it.
Which is only 1 year too.
Exactly. Great job by JBB to weaponize the extra cap space we have, left over from the Sergachev injury. So I really like that. And then just getting, the right guys in Duclair and Dumba, and only giving up 1 player, I guess 2 if you count, the goalie we sent in the Edmonton deal, but only giving up 1 non-roster player and giving up, real late round picks. The earliest pick we had was a 3rd rounder. So, and again, they're just magic beans at this point. So I say B+. Again, it could have been a little flashier, but I think it was a darn solid deal.
Yeah, I'll go with a B. I mean, you don't need to swing for the fences when strategically a bunt is what is called for. And JBB, I think he did exactly what the team needed.
I'll go B-. I originally was in the C kind of range because I wasn't too thrilled with the defenseman, but after seeing these guys play and then, talking about it here, it is very solid with what they gave up. It wasn't a ton. Of course, obviously Hannafin or somebody like that would have made it an A, but it doesn't always work out that way. So it's still a very solid trade deadline, all things considered. And Matt, I'm glad you brought up the other trade the Lightning did make, because it is important to know they got to pick for that, and they use that cap. Because listen, if you're not going to use it and you're not going to be able to get a Hannafin or Chikrin or whoever, why not, right? So it's basically a free draft pick for money that you're not going to need for the rest of the season. So it doesn't really hurt them in that way, because come playoff time, the salary cap doesn't matter, which the Vegas Golden Knights know really well, because they went out and traded for just about everybody that you can imagine. They got Hannafin, they got Timo Meyer. I mean, they just
Thomas Hertl.
Thomas Hurdle. Sorry,
but
yes,
still,
right. It's crazy with all the moves that they made. Does that worry you guys at all about? I mean, Vegas is a team. Luckily, the Lightning would not run into until the Stanley Cup Finals, but they're fighting for a playoff spot right now.
yeah, they're in the second wild card spot. I didn't know they were doing so bad. Like, I know they are having, quite the rough season with injuries, as they always do, which tends to work out in their favor, as we can see. But again, legally, I'm not allowed to get mad at Vegas doing LTIR shenanigans. Again, and none of you guys are either. We all saw the 18 million over the cap shirts and all that. I'm legally not allowed to be mad at it. Don't hate the team. Don't hate the player. Hate the league for letting it happen. Thank you.
I can't believe they allowed the acquisition of a guy currently on LTIR like that, though. That's like really going above and beyond.
And the Sharks are retaining salary on that deal for like the next 6 years, which is, it's not a lot from like year to year, but still that's a lot of salary to retain. And
they're still retaining on Erik Karlsson too. So they've got 2 long-term deals that they're going to be retaining a little bit on for at minimum 5-6 years.
And Matt, I think you're absolutely right. We can't say too much about it because the Lightning use the LTIR rules to their advantage too. But hey, rules are rules. Like you said, don't hate the player, hate the league.
Yeah, until it affects me, I don't care.
I'm also thankful to the Knights for taking the heat off of us. Now everybody's focused on the Golden Knights, so we don't have to worry about it there. All right, let's get into the games for the Lightning. They had a long extended break, or not long. It was 4 days. They had 4 days off because the Lightning's schedule has just been really weird this year. They're going to have another 4 days off as well that they're currently in right now. And I don't know about you guys, I get bored without Lightning hockey. One thing that I found that helps me out when the Lightning are off for so long, heading over to shop.rblrsports.com and check out the awesome team-inspired merch that we have from all the great teams, the Lightning, Rays, Bucks, Rowdies, you name it. Again, shop.rblrsports.com. And the best part is for you guys, you can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order. So while the Lightning aren't playing any hockey, go over there, check it out. Link, as always, is in the description, and get yourself some new merch. So when the Lightning do come back to play, you can get it for yourself as well and be ready to go for the games. All right, let's talk about these games for the Lightning. Starting off with the game against the Calgary Flames. It was a game I was at. I was super excited for this one. And then the game happened. This one got ugly, guys. The Lightning lose it 6-3 in a final score. Just not pretty. And this is another one of those games. It was like the Buffalo game, right? It's a game where you're playing a team that's down lower in the standings, although Calgary's been on quite a run as of late, to their credit. But it's a team that you expect to beat and at home. And then you lose 6-3. 3 unanswered goals from the Flames in the second period, and the Lightning just could never get back into it. They never had much momentum at all in this game. A frustrating loss for the Lightning, and a bad one at a bad time in this playoff race.
Yeah, this one got under my skin. It really did. I thought it was, I don't know, the first period was just okay, and then the rest of the game just snowballed into being I don't know. It was just a bad game overall, and it didn't only get under my skin, but it got under John Cooper's skin. Like, I think this was, one of the most irate I've seen him this year, to publicly, say it was an embarrassing loss. And it sucks that we keep getting these embarrassing losses at home as well. Like, I was supposed to be at this game, but I had a new puppy, so I was, I just wanted to hang out with her. It was a very good
subtle
game
brag.
to miss. It's subtle brag, yeah, absolutely. But it was a very good game to miss, I guess. So I'm not, too upset about that, but I am still upset about the result of this game. There was zero fight, zero battle level. Once the game got a little bit out of hand, they just kind of folded, it seemed like. They just completely submitted to Calgary, who, again, they have been playing, rather good recently. Don't look at their game against Carolina the other day. But, again, they've been playing good recently. The Lightning, they've had their struggles. But still, I can't really excuse really anything in this game. So I'm upset with the result. But again, recency bias. I'm not too upset with the game we had later on in the week.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, I almost kind of feel like it was a comedy of errors, but ended up being a tragedy. And I kind of mean what I'm saying by that, because there's so many turnovers in the defensive zone. You could almost laugh at it. So many bad plays, bad passes. They just couldn't get things going right, and it was funny. It even looked like they were skating really well at times, But then at other times, it just looked like they had no idea what other people on the ice were doing. There was one play in particular where there's a guy, I think Hedman ended up basically turning it over on a bad pass behind our own net that just didn't connect. And Point stood next to the goal scorer that was in the low slot. He just, didn't pick him up, just kind of stood there trying to be in the passing lane, I suppose, and it didn't work out at all. And Vasi got sniped from a puck coming from behind the net. There's nothing you can do as a goaltender there. There's another play which, maybe, I'll come back to it then. There's only a total of 9 block shots. The Lightning weren't playing well defensively at all, which is crazy because they actually won 69.8% of the faceoffs. So they had the puck. They started off with the puck quite a bit. And like I said, passes just weren't quite connecting. They looked off. One of the best passes of the night actually was from Paul to Connor Sheary, who broke his goalless streak here to put one in back door. That was great, beautiful, really needed. I'm 100% confident it boosted Sherry's confidence. Man, I worked myself into a corner on that one.
Did you see his celly when he scored that goal? I mean, yeah, that he was relieved and he finally got that one.
Absolutely. I mean, he needed it, and he worked hard, and it showed up more later in the week. That was a pivotal play, even though it wasn't one that ended up mattering much in this game, because I do believe he brought that into the next game. What I do want to talk about was trying to see whichever player it was that scored. I think it was the Peltier goal that bumped Vasi. Was it Kuzmenko that bumped Vasi? Usually I feel like I get these calls right. I understand the intent of the rules. It looked to me like Kuzmenko was driving to the short side corner of the net. The puck gets bumped out to the guy in the slot. He makes contact with Vasi, which pulls him towards the middle of the net. Didn't look like there is additional contact from the defenseman to force him into the crease. Yet, when they score and it was challenged, they said it was not goaltender interference. This is one that I don't agree with, and I feel like they've been making these calls fairly consistently, or with fair consistency in regards to contact with the goalie. I don't get why this one wasn't overturned. Nothing.
Yeah. Listen, Joe, I was right above this play when it happened. I was up in the 300s on the side, and I was so confident this was getting overturned. I literally stood up and yelled. It was with my hands like, no goal, like that one's coming back. And then they called it a goal, and we ended up in the penalty kill. I don't understand it. He cut in the crease. He made contact. Was it a ton of contact? No, it's maybe a little
any
more
contact that should be enough.
So I don't understand how that one could have been called like that. Obviously, it ended up not really mattering because the Lightning just were utterly flat.
To me, that was it. That was the turning point of the game. Right. After going down at that point 4, about halfway through the game, and then getting a power play for the Flames because of the challenge. That was it. The guys lost all the momentum. They kind of lost hope on a team that they should on paper be better than, and certainly points that they desperately need. And that was where the tragedy came into my part, because the rest of it, they didn't deserve to necessarily win, but that's what sunk the ship.
Yeah, I got major Florida vibes, like the game we played a couple of weeks ago against Florida at Amalie Arena, especially with the goaltender interference call. That ended up not being goalie interference. That's what sunk the ship. That's the straw that broke the camel's back, and it just sucked all the air out of the building, and there was just no fight for the rest of the night. Yeah, you got your cookies a little here and a little there, but again, just for the rest of the night, there really wasn't anything until the very end where they pulled the goalie and got a goal back, I think, right? But still 2 empty netters. I don't know.
They pulled the goalie at like 7 minutes and got scored on almost immediately. I feel like if you watch it, Hedman had no idea the goalie was pulled, potentially.
Oh, really?
I didn't even know that the goalie was pulled. I was watching the play down low, and then the next thing I know, the puck's in the back, and then I'm like, we pulled back. I had no idea it even happened.
Pass goes from Backlund to Mangiapane, and Mangiapane's coming on the left-hand boards. Hedman has control of the center of the ice and could easily have angled him off for the dump in, but he doesn't. and Mangiapane just shoots as soon as he crosses the blue line right into the net. And when Hedman turns around, I swear it looks like he expected someone to be there.
This was not Hetty's best game by any stretch. I thought he was kind of swimming out there, but, it was a collective effort of no effort. So I don't know why I singled in on him, but yeah, there were a couple of plays that Hetty looked pretty lost on.
Yeah,
Did they go out drinking the night before or something? I mean, they just looked off.
Bottom line was it was a problem that the Lightning have had all season long, which was turnovers in their own zone, which led to tons of chances for Calgary. Also, Blake Coleman scored in this game, so that continues the trend of former Lightning players scoring in some way, shape, or fashion against the Lightning. Also, the way you know that this was a bad game, I left the game early. I never do that. I hate doing that, but it got so bad. It was only like a minute left, but I was like, all right, I was with some other friends and they were ready to, they're like, all right, we're done with this. But I left the game early. So that's how you know it was ugly. But luckily, the Lightning seemed to get the message from Cooper because Matt, as you mentioned, he called this game an utter disappointment. I can't remember the exact wordage he used. He was not happy with the performance. He said it was unacceptable. They had laid out a good path for the Lightning after having those days off. They had practices, and they should have performed. They did not. They responded, though, as the Lightning come out and they win 7-0. Vasilevsky gets the shutout over the Philadelphia Flyers in a dominating win. Of course, you have Anthony Duclair and Matt Dumba playing their first NHL games. Duclair gets a goal and assist in this one. Sheary keeps on rocking and gets back-to-back goals after struggling for so long. Just domination for the entire game of this one. It felt good to get a big win like this, especially against the Flyers, who are in this wild card race because they may be third in their division right now, but they are one of the teams that could fall out into that wild card race, and the Lightning have the advantage on them now with that win. So it's a huge win in the standings and just a feel-good, get-back right kind of game.
Joe, I got to ask, what were you just looking at? Were you going, whoa?
So I'll give my take on this game because it gives the swing of the way this week went. The quote from Cooper was, "Embarrassing is what that was," which I feel is a pretty strong statement, and giving it to his players where they came out on Saturday night and it was the complete antithesis of embarrassing. They killed it. They played a great game. They completely had it in hand. There were some times that Philly pushed, but the Lightning didn't break. They had a great showing with new players, which you can always say that's a little bit of additional energy being put into the bench. We saw that with some of the call-ups from the AHL, where sometimes just some fresh blood, fresh legs gives you a bit of a push that you haven't had. Some notable things is in the previous game, the Lightning had 9 total blocked shots, and this one they had 20. This is something I've said since about the 20 games into the season. They need to be averaging 20 block shots a night if the other team's really shooting in order to have a chance to win with the way that their defensive system's set up, and they got it. They went 3 for 4 on the power play. They just looked dominating. To the point that, as a coach, I don't even know what I'd do. I'd probably just want to leave early.
Oh, come on. No, he's not leaving. I'm not leaving.
What a great segue.
$50,000.
They have missed it. So it was after the 4th goal from the Lightning. The Flyers went to make a goalie change. And I actually don't even know exactly what happened or what was said, but Tortorella got a bench minor and was thrown out of the game. And he did not want to leave, and he stood there for about a good 2 minutes. Actually, I got to give credit to Bally Sports, who made a hilarious. Bally Sports, we all know, has not been great for a while now, but I digress. They made a funny joke where they said it's sort of picture of Sutherland and Tortorella, and they said, "Legend has it, is he still standing there?" Which I thought was fantastic because he did not want to leave. And the broadcast also showed the 04 team, which was there for Hall of Fame night, which I want to get to in a moment here as well. And they were laughing because they know this is classic Torts for just being a hothead and not wanting to leave. I think he hoped it would fire up his team. It did not because it only got worse, but an interesting situation with Torts and the officials.
I think it did fire up the team a little bit after the ejection. Philly They didn't get anything going in our zone, but they did make it harder for us to get into their zone. I think there was obviously the power play, but that power play really didn't go anywhere. I'd say Philly had more chances shorthanded than the Lightning did, with the man advantage. And then just, for the rest of the period and early into the second period, it was really difficult getting through the neutral zone and especially into Philly's zone. But of course, that's not the story. That's the boring part of it. I mean, 4 goals in the first, 11 minutes, and seeing Tortorella get ejected like that. I think I said
fights
in the chat,
galore.
Fights galore. Like, what is this game? Yeah, there were 3 fights in this game. Dumba getting in a fight. Austin Watson going up against Nick Delorier, who I have as the best fighter in the league right now, Nick Delorier. Oh my! This game was just entertaining. It was a great, spectacle. It was a great showing for the, the alumni players that were there, for the 04 Cup team. It was just as good of a game as you could have asked for. Fights, hits, great scoring, just a dominant win from the team, and just all of it to be just such an entertaining product all in one. I'm just still laughing at the whole ordeal, from 60 minutes to stop.
You got a little bit of everything in this game, right? You got the Vasti shutout, new guys scoring, the fights, you got a coach thrown out of the game, and you got a 7-0 win. I mean, it was just all over the place. You got a little bit of everything. It was so much fun.
I mentioned a few weeks ago that I took my nephew to his first Lightning game, and that was that pathetic Panther showing. Why couldn't it have been this one where where he would have been so excited and have no idea what's going on fully? But there's something to see, and I'm sure the fans were going crazy for it as well.
I do want to mention also, so this was, as we mentioned, the 04 team was there. It was alumni weekend, and the Lightning had their Hall of Fame ceremony the night before, which I went to. And I got to say, again, the Lightning organization, round of applause. They did a fantastic job with that. Dave Andrechuk and Brad Richards inducted into the Lightning Hall of Fame. So now we have Vinny, Marty, Esposito, Andrechuk, and Richards. So congratulations to those guys for getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. It was a really fun ceremony. If you haven't listened to the block party, I don't know if the episode is out, but they recorded a live section for the block party, and they talked to some of the alumni that were there. Some really funny stories that the guys were telling. Highly recommend you go check that out as well to get a little bit of what went on during the ceremony. But fantastic job by Lightning once again.
I will pay any amount of money every month for Andre Waugh play-by-play. I don't know if you saw the interview. I'll give my entire paycheck to just hear Andre Waugh do one game. I mean, he's such a funny guy. But yeah, it was always a great presentation. I was saying in the chat, like, I just love all the pregame ceremonies, especially for big deals like 1,000th game or 1,000 points or celebrating the 20-year 04 Cup winning team. Just amazing. It was a great show. And again, like you said, Jake, just this game had everything. It is unfortunate you couldn't bring your nephew to this game, Joe. That does suck. But again, more fun like this in the future. I can't imagine we're going to get any more coaches ejected anytime soon, but it took me way too long to realize and laugh at the irony of John Tortorella being the coach to get tossed out on alumni night, on Hall of Fame night. Like, it really did not register with me until the period ended. I was like, hey, he was the coach of that team.
So I mean,
way too long.
One thing I do want to say about Torts is he's a lot more dynamic than just being a hothead. He's a guy that will absolutely 1,000% go to bat for his own players. He's not bashful. He holds everybody accountable, and that includes the media. And he'll call out somebody for asking a stupid question. He'll call out somebody for creating controversy in terms of the media. For his own players, he'll call them out if they're not playing hard enough. And he knows what he expects out of his guys. And he knows what he expects out of refereeing as well. And yeah, he got hot, heated, got kicked out. But I do think it did light a fire under his guys a bit as well, because they made a bit of a push. Just the Lightning were able to withstand it.
The Lightning need to do more of these Hall of Fame ceremonies, because this is the second time. Lightning are 2-0 now on Hall of Fame nights. They beat the Canadiens 5-3 last time. And also, I don't know if you guys know this, but the Lightning scored a goal against the Flyers when they were doing an interview with one of the alumni. That's the second time that's happened now, because it happened when they played the Canadiens as well. So when these Hall of Fame game nights happen, just interview the players 24/7 because apparently that's what gets the Lightning going. But hey, cup in the building, the Lightning put up a 7-0 shutout. Coincidence? I don't know. I think the Lightning got a little bit energized with that one, and they were feeling good. But hey, fantastic event by the Lightning. Ends up being a decent week for the Bolts because they got a lot of help from elsewhere too when it comes to scoreboard watching. So the Lightning currently sitting in the first wild card spot right now. Let's get to our 3 stars of the week though, and give some shout out to players who very much deserve it this week and played well. And starting off with our number 3 star, I can't wait to get to this one. It's Connor Sheary. We got a standing ovation for Connor Sheary, who gets on his 3rd star of the week. He struggled all season long. There's been a lot of talk about him. The fans have given him a very hard time because he only scored 1 goal up until these last 2 games, but he gets 2 huge ones here to get that gorilla off his back. And he has looked fantastic. He's playing hard. He's shooting the puck, and he's getting him in the back of the net right now. Hopefully that can continue.
I want to start.
Go for it.
Go for it.
I apologize, Connor. He had a terrific game. Even in the Calgary game, he was the best player for the Bolts the entire game. Take away the goal, he was the best. He was making some really good plays. He was laying the body. He was forechecking hard. He was the only one that really looked like he was really in it. He was the Brandon Hagel of that game, where he's the only guy that really looks energized. Again, take away the goal, and he was still the best player on the team. No shadow of a doubt. Has he underperformed this year? Yes, but getting goals in back-to-back games in this Flyers game as well, I thought he was a little lucky, getting that goal. I think the goalie should have had it, but he still put in really good work on freeing up that puck and getting it to a spot where he can shoot it. So I apologize, Connor. Keep this momentum going. You had a terrific week of hockey, and just keep it going for the playoffs. Again, he's a guy that's solid for 15 goals every year. This year is a bit of an anomaly, so hopefully he can just take this and run.
Yeah, I mean, I a little bit disagree with you in the sense that you're apologizing. I don't think that you need to apologize. His stats haven't been where we all thought that they should be.
I'm being dramatic.
I've been saying naturally. I've been saying that that what you get out of him is just somebody that's going to eat some ice time consistently without really impacting the plus minus of a game. But he came in these last 2 games, primary assist, 2 goals. I mean, that's huge, and obviously it means a lot to him. I feel like every time that we end up kind of calling out a player for their poor performance on here, they end up the next week giving us even better content to talk about as they go and do something big. And we have to find another target that needs to get hot so we can trash their play a little bit and get them going, because it obviously worked for Sheary, and good reason he's the 3rd star this week.
And it's worked for somebody else I've called out who might happen to be on this list as well. So
maybe that's going to be a new segment that we have to have. RBLR's a player that needs to step up of the week, and then hopefully they'll be back on the 3 stars the week after. All right, let's go to the number 2 star of the week. It's a defenseman who had a fantastic week. We talked about a little bit of his struggles a little bit this week too, but overall solid performance from him, and it's Victor Hedman. So Hedman gets the number 2 star of the week. In a week where there was a lot of minuses because of that rough Calgary game, and then a lot of pluses after the Flyers game, he ends up as a +2 with 2 goals and 2 assists. So contributed offensively, was still solid defensively even after that rough game against Calgary. He gets the number 2 star of the week.
Yeah, Victor Hedman's really good at bouncing back. Anytime that he has a down game, you can pretty much guarantee that he's going to have an answer for it the next one. And yeah, there's a lot of issues all around the team for the Calgary Flames game, but Heddy came back with a vengeance going into the Flyers game, got 2 goals, went on to show that, hey, he recognizes what happened, and put the team on his back as well, and came out with a great performance after a relatively lousy one. And I love that from somebody that wears an A on his chest, setting an example. Like, just because you had one bad game doesn't mean that has to define you for the next one. And he came out with a heck of a showing.
Yeah, and I know we call Brandon Hagel the future captain, but when Stamkos, during all his injuries, who is the, interim captain? It's Victor Hedman. He is the other face of the franchise, whether you like it or not. So, yeah, I like seeing that from a guy with an A. And yeah, that Calgary game was not his best game, as we, were talking about earlier. But again, like you were saying, Joe, just his ability to bounce back, and man, he was flying. He was all over the ice in that Philadelphia game. Like, it looked like he was prime, like 2018, 2019, 2020 Victor Hedman all over again, where he is just shutting guys down, not even having to use the body, but just really just using his positioning and his long stick and his long reach. Again, never really plays physical. And then, of course, the 2 goals and the assist. I think he got an assist in the Calgary game as well, but he really did show out for the real team and my fantasy team this week. And boom, I got it in.
There it is.
There it
I was
is.
going to ask you, Matt, if you picked up Anthony Duclair, because I saw that the NHL put out that he was one of the top picked up fantasy players. So I wasn't sure.
I wanted to. I didn't. Somebody else got to him before me. I don't know if I'm quite ready to subscribe to that just yet.
There you go. Well, I'm glad Hedman was able to help you out in your fantasy team, and that's why he gets the number 2 star of the week. But let's go to the number 1 star. It's another defenseman, and it's not maybe a guy you would expect. He's a guy that Matt has had a love-hate relationship the entire season. It's Darren Raddysh. And what a game Darren Raddysh had, specifically against the Philadelphia Flyers. He had 5 assists in that game. He ends up as a +2 on the week in just those 2 games. But Raddysh sets a franchise record for most assists by a defenseman in a single game. The bald eagle in full effect. It's fantastic in that game against the Flyers. So he gets the number 1 star of the week.
I'll let you go, Joe.
I think this is the part where all Matt says is he just takes his shoe off and puts it right in his mouth, right? That's the number 1 star of the week. Are you kidding me? That's incredible. He had such a great game. He's obviously still finding himself in certain ways, but getting back to some of his offensive roots where he really can be a play driver, playmaker. And, it was one heck of a performance that he had against that Phillies team.
Yeah, I mean, this week for the Stars, this is hell week for me, having Connor Sheary and Darren Raddysh up here. I mean, I couldn't. I have 2 shoes in my mouth. I'm eating crow, but no, I mean, that is the whole goal. That's what I live for. I love to be proved wrong by the guys I'm talking bad about. And, I've laid off Darren Raddysh for a bit now. His defense is still very suspect, but I'm glad to see that what he excels at is really starting to translate from the AHL to the NHL, which is offense, which is being a power play quarterback, which is being just a great puck distributor. He's good at passing the puck. He's just not good at keeping it out of his own zone. But again, 5 assists is enough to get you the 1st star. To be, somewhere in Lightning history for 5 assists, that's crazy to me. So good on Darren Raddysh. I mean, and it wasn't even against like a bottom feeder team. It was a bit of an anomalous night. It's going to be really hard to replicate this. But again, just congratulations to him. 5 assists is nothing to sniff your nose at. It's just it's still just trying to wrap my head around, man. Darren Raddysh, he set a Lightning record, like a good Lightning record.
I want to point something out statistically real quick. He is right now currently 8th on the team in points with 26. He has a total of 5 power play points, so that would put him down to 21. Victor Hedman, if you take away the 37 power play points that he has for the I'm sorry, I actually got it wrong. It's 27 power play points that he has from his 64. That would put him at 37 total points. So, considering the difference in play that they are, 2/3 of Victor Hedman's points is pretty respectable. 8th on the team, ahead of ABB by a long shot. It's pretty good season that he's having right now.
Yeah, impressive stuff, and that's why he gets the number 1 star. So there you have it, our 3 stars of the week, Sheary, Hedman, and Raddysh. Let us know in the comments down below or on social media at RBLR Lightning, at RBLR Sports. If you guys would have had any different stars or if you would have put them in a different order, we'd love to hear from you as well. But it's funny, in a week where Vasi had a shutout, he doesn't even on the stars list, and this is the 2nd week in a row, by the way. Kucherov has not been on his own. Nikita Kucherov, 3 stars of the week. It feels weird that Kucherov hasn't been on there lately.
Cooch is in a little bit of trouble here when it comes to the points race. He's actually down by 4 points on Nathan McKinnon. He has one game in hand, but also sneaking up very quickly is Connor McDavid, who has 3 games in hand on Cooch and is only 4 points down. I will say that both of those, both Macs have significantly more tools as teammates around them to help them build those points, and Kucherov is putting the entire team on his back in order to generate scoring for him. So it's definitely different, but he needs to keep his pace up here. He's in danger of losing that number 1 spot to one of those 2 guys.
But that's been my argument for Kucherov deserving the Hart, is that Kucherov is doing way more with way less than McDavid and McKinnon. Just, I don't know.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, he's separating himself by 45 points from the next closest guy. It might be even more. I think it's Braden Point, who is having a really good year. He's got 33 goals now, but he's not Kucherov. He's not even in the same stratosphere. He's doing way more with way less, but still, all 3 fantastic players.
40 points.
Oh my! I mean, that's just
let
crazy.
me pull up the other guys while we're sitting here talking about it. For Edmonton,
Zach Hyman's on pace for 50 goals.
David's on pace for over 100 assists right now, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so you have Draisaitl, who's 20 points behind McDavid, and Hyman, who is, he's got 62, so he's 40 points behind as well, but he's got 43 goals, like you mentioned. And then going to the Avs.
McKinnon has been on an absolute tear as of late. He's had a really, really good week. And Kucherov is, we say not been as good, but he still had a couple of points in all these games. So he said, if this is Kucherov's slump, I don't want to know what his ultimate height is. he could go off very quickly and get back in this race.
That's why it's the Kucherov star of the week.
Right.
Ratton and Makar are both playing really well with 84 and 70 points respectively. So I mean, they've got more guys around him that are contributing here, and plus the rest of the team collectively have significantly more points. I wish there was a quick way to add it without delaying the show by several minutes, but overall,
it doesn't even need the math. It is just clear as day objective. Kucherov is just having he might not be having a better season, but by the definition of what the Hart Trophy is, the player most valuable to their team, yes, he is doing way more with way less. So that's my case, and I'll rest it.
I'm 100% with you there, Matt. He should win MVP. Hopefully he will. But right now, the Lightning have a race to finish in this division. Very close, tight for the wild card race. And let's take a look at the Lightning schedule upcoming. Of course, right now they're in their 4-day break for the second week in a row. They just had one. When they come back, it'll be on Thursday on the 14th as the Lightning take on the Rangers at Amalie Arena at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then they will play the Panthers on the 16th. That one on the road in Sunrise for a start of a short road trip for the Bolts. That game at 6 p.m. Eastern. It is on ESPN Plus and Hulu, by the way. So a little bit of a national game there and a Hulu and ESPN Plus exclusive. So be on the lookout for that as well. And then
as long as it's not on Bally's, I'm happy.
Go ahead.
As long as it's not on Bally's, I'm happy. Did you guys have trouble? Which I think it was one of the games where
trouble with Bally's. It doesn't matter what day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was the Philly game a couple weeks ago, Joe. I don't think you were on the podcast for it, where the power went out in the building, and then NBC Philadelphia got their feedback up within 5-6 minutes, and Bally's didn't get up till the end of the second period. I don't know. You got to be more specific about issues with Bally.
Fair.
Yeah, that's true. The only thing I don't like about this is I don't have a specific subscription to ESPN Plus or Hulu, so this game gets a little bit harder to watch for me, but it is what it is. 2 big games, though, for the Lightning is they're going to be hopefully in a better situation where you can kind of see where they're at in the race because teams will have another chance to catch them in that game's played category. The Lightning have struggled, as we know, with the Flames game when they have a lot of time off. Hopefully they'll be able to continue what they did against Philly, though, in a game against a very good New York Rangers team. What are you guys looking at for these 2 games upcoming for the Bolts?
I wish they were not this week, especially just because we have these fresh acquisitions onto the team, and I'd like to see them adjust. But these are the top team for the Metro, the top team for the Atlantic, and a good indicator of who you're going to be going against if you make the playoffs, because that's who the wild card teams end up playing in the first round.
Good point.
If it's a little bit early to tell how things are going to settle out on this Lightning team, which Lightning team we actually have. And like I said, I'd love to see this matchup in a couple of weeks when a few more games would have been under their belt, but that's not the schedule that we have. So if they could get 2 points out of this week, that would be great. If they win both, or if they lose both of them, it's again putting the team in a really tough spot. If they're able to come away with 2 wins, then I don't think that necessarily tells us too much other than that they're a desperate team. It's a really weird week to play such great teams, but they need the points with some real desperation here.
Yeah, it's an important week, and the biggest piece of advice that I'm not going to tell them, but is just do your homework. Like, these are the 2 teams, like you were saying, Joe, that you could potentially be playing, that you most likely will be playing. So do your homework, see what these teams are like, see what their strengths and their weaknesses are while you're playing them. Because, it's looking like we're going to play either Florida or New York if we remain in the wild card, which it seems like we will. So, just do your overall scouting report. Of course, we want to win the games, but again, just see what you're working with. In Florida, they've got a bunch of new players too. They got Vladdy Tarasenko, who already had a 2-goal game, but they're going to be figuring stuff out as well. They've got new guys in there. They've made a couple other trades as well. So they're going to be kind of, moving things around, seeing what works. New York is New York. They know what is working. They didn't make any big splashes at the deadline either. But again, just keep your head above water. It's going to be a miracle to me if we can come out with 4 points. But again, not a miracle. These teams are both very, very hot right now. Jake, I saw that face, but these teams are both very, very hot right now. So it'll be great if they can come out with 4 points.
Listen, we let little brother win big last time out, but we're not going to let that happen again. Hopefully, you're right. It gives 2 really big teams. If you're wondering who to scoreboard watch this week, by the way, while the Lightning have some time off, the Islanders, the Red Wings, and the Capitals, and the Flyers. So those are the teams that are really tight in this wildcard race. New Jersey, too, although they've hit a major cliff and they've fallen off tremendously. So a little bit tougher for them to try and get back in this. They still can. But those are the teams to watch. And a couple of them are in action tonight as of this recording. Capitals are taking on the Jets, and the Islanders taking on the Kings on the second half of their back-to-back. So a lot of moving pieces. At the end of the day, for the Lightning, just win your games, and you should put yourself in a better position every time. Guys, that's going to do it for us in this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe right here on YouTube. Follow us at RBLR Lightning, at RBLR Sports, so you don't miss out on all the awesome content that we have for you guys. We'll talk to you in the next one. Go Bolts!
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.